What's going on, Trojan family? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. Another one. Another commitment coming through this morning. Recording this Saturday. Beautiful Saturday in the Southland. This is what makes LA so great. Here we are. April. Spring is here. It's going to be what? High 60s, low 70s today. There's snow in other parts of the country. We don't got to worry about that. Got great weather, and USC is cooking on the recruiting trail. So, quick update with commitment plus some flip watch. Rivals put out an article that we've actually talked about some of these players before as well. But they put out something yesterday or 2 days ago about 5 kind of West Coast players committed elsewhere that are on flip watch. 4 of those 5 all linked to USC. So I'll get into that as well and give my thoughts on that, plus all the big visits happening as we're speaking this weekend on campus. So let's just get in right away to this commitment. Redeaux, number 1 ranked running back in the state of California per 24/7 Sports. He is, depending on what ranking you like better, on 3, 247. Composite 24/7, I think, is 12th. On 3 industry rankings is 13th. Top 15 running back in the nation. Everyone to look at that. 24/7. I always say 247. I think they go by 24/7, but their pure rankings, he's 5th in the entire country. Like I said, 1st in the state of California. 5'10", 195. Also a sprinter, so has tremendous breakaway speed. He's been comped to running backs like Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. Has that catchability out of the backfield. Some wiggle, some shake between the tackles, and then can just go flat out run. So he's going to add to this backfield, and I think the complement in this 26 class of him and Sean Alston, who they're both like very closely ranked on all rankings. It's like one's ahead of the other, one's behind the other. They're right next to each other. Alston's a little bit bigger weight-wise. He's a little 5'9", 210, 205, I think he's listed out on some of the sites. We'll see what these guys look like once they actually get to campus. They still got to play their senior seasons and whatnot, so obviously more weight can be added there. But from what I've seen, and you guys, as you will, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, Alston feels a little bit more like a bruising back. Has some good speed for sure. Not like a slow back, but more of like a Brian Jackson type who's on the roster that can just bruise, give you this goal line. And Redeaux feels more like that kind of that breakaway speed guy. So never ever, it's dangerous anytime you bring up number 5's names. I'm not going to do it. But this has the makings of kind of being that potential thunder and lightning again with Alston and Redeaux. So huge commitment for SC. Local kid, Oaks Christian from Westlake Village. The way he announced his commitment, I loved it. I don't know if other people thought it was over the top. I thought it was great. Made a video on a football field, had Snoop Dogg on the phone talking about his legacy, and Snoop Dogg says, you're homegrown, something different about playing for the home team. And then Juju Watkins comes out with a red Gatorade to dump on him as he's wearing a USC Trojans Letterman jacket. So Snoop involved, the great Juju Watkins involved, and he is officially staying home. And this is now the 20th commitment in the number 1 ranked 2026 recruiting class for Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, this is one that we felt really strongly about. All the other ranking systems had put in crystal balls a week or 2 ago for him to commit to SC. I've talked to sources that it was pretty much a done deal. We've talked about him on the show before about being when Chad Bowden on the Trojans Live last week, or I guess beginning of this week, mentioned a few more coming. He was one that we lumped in there as one of the ones that would be announced. It was just he was doing an announcement ceremony for his birthday today, so I was going to wait till then to make it public. But we feel like we've known strongly. But, hey, it's great to have it out there. Again, feels like this is one that's locked in. I don't think he has any visits still planned. But let me confirm that. So, yeah, based on, and we'll see if anything changes, but based on On3's visit center, he does not have any more visits scheduled for now. according to 24/7, excuse me, he did visit Michigan just like last week on March 31st. But they have nothing else scheduled out. So, that can change. I think he's locked in, obviously fired up, but you never know. People are still going to be pushing him. He's one of the top players in the entire country. So there's still going to be an absolute push to try to flip him. But being that he's a local kid, how the recruiting has gone for USC now with Chad Bowden, Lincoln Riley, Anthony Jones Jr., I think he's a tremendous, not just running back coach, but running back recruiter. And then kind of just already just the vibe of like staying home and doing his commitment video with Snoop and Juju. Like, I don't see him going back on that all of a sudden, barring anything, catastrophic happening in this 2025 season. So, big commitment. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, how you feel about Redeaux joining the Trojan family. Great talent, great kid, and a great local prospect. So, let me know what you guys think. Adds, like I said, 20th commitment now to this number 1 ranked class. Flip watch. We'll do this kind of quickly. Keep today's kind of short, sweet. Just wanted to get on the horn, get on the mic, and just break down this great commitment. I mean, USC is just on fire this year. It's just so fun. Like, how fun is this, Trojan fam? How fun is this? Just always talking positive. Last between basically, second week of September after the Michigan game until leading up to signing day in December. So we'll just call it late November. It was just like all doom and gloom talking about this team, right? The losses were stacking up. The future of Riley was very clouded. No GM had been hired yet, and there was that frustration. The transfer portal and guys were just leaving in droves. I mean, it was all doom and gloom, and man, what a 180. A few months, and really one hire has made. Now, obviously, they added some on the staff. We've talked about it to get into it. Coaching hires as well, which have been remarkable with Savage and Ryan and others. But it's amazing how that Chad Bowden hire has really just fundamentally changed the perspective, but also the momentum of this program in the way they're going. And obviously now this 2025 team that I talked about last year has the almost unfortunate pressure of having to have a really good season to keep this momentum going. But I think they can do it. And I broke it all down last episode, so I don't want to belabor it. I'm going to get into these flips right now. But I do think they have the horses this year and a more beneficial schedule than they had last year to put together a 9-10 win season. I don't think that's crazy talk. Last year, it should have been a 9-win season, right? I mean, it was a brutal season how it went. It should have been, it could have been even more when you think about every game outside of Notre Dame being a 1-score loss. But the Maryland and Minnesota games should have absolutely been wins. There's 8 wins right there. 9 wins with the bowl win, right? 6-6, 7-6. So, it would have been 9-win season. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But this year, with the additions on the defensive line, the depth and talent on this defensive line is... you guys all know, I've talked about it, but I just want to keep hammering it down. Me and Tim talked about it on the call-in show a few days ago. Thank you all for tuning into that. It is night and day, the difference of just the size, talent, and depth. Depth is the key. Because I think they had some good players last year in the D-line, but it was like 3 guys. And then freshmen. And these freshmen now are going to be even better. But, Jade Abisaria, I love him. Carlin Jones didn't play last year. He's a great big body. They were true freshmen. Trying to throw into Big Ten play, that's a tall order. Now you have those guys coming back, plus Keyshawn Silver, Jah Jarrett. You have Kobe Pepe, who's another year tenured and even bigger. I always am forgetting some, obviously, but you just have Jakeem Stewart, the incoming freshman, plus Floyd Boucard and Gus Cordova and so many guys down the line. I'm randomly, when I just talk by myself, I black out on these, and then obviously forgetting one key actual starter on the defensive line. I'm not talking edge. I'm talking just more interior guys. Got to give him his flowers because he was one of the most improved players. Like, if you look at Coach Henderson's development, this is the guy I point to. From what he was before Henny to what he is now and into last year. Devin Tompkins. There we go. I don't know why I was trying to blame. Devin Tompkins, I think, was one of their best defensive players last year. So, anyway, all that coupled, I think this 2025 team has a chance to be really, really good. It's all unfortunately going to hinge on the quarterback position, which that's kind of the most unknown. We've seen the upside of Jade Mayava. We've seen the downside of Jade Mayava. We know Husan Longstreet is the future, but as a true freshman, that's always a very risky proposition in such a critical year to throw in a true freshman. So that's going to be the catalyst of kind of what this season becomes, or how much emphasis they'll put on the quarterback. And maybe we'll see a kind of different Lincoln Riley offense that says, look, we got all these horses at running back that we brought in. Offensive line improve. Our defense is going to be even better than it was. Like, let's throw it 20, 25 times and run it 30 times. So we'll see. We'll get to that as the offseason progresses on. So, Flip Watch. I've talked about a few of these guys before, but I just want to mention them again. So the big name that everyone's watching right now, that I still think is a little ways away, but I do know USC's working to make it happen, is Cody Green, offensive tackle out of Mater Dei, currently committed to Oregon. He has said, he committed last fall, and he has publicly said that it would take a lot for him to flip. He was in love with Oregon, fully committed there, but things happen, right? And I think you're seeing what USC is doing now versus what they were doing last fall, and seeing some of his teammates at Mater Dei and other SoCal players that can be very swaying, very persuasive. He talked just recently. He was at USC last week, I believe, for an unofficial. Talked about Coach Hansen. And obviously last year when he was being recruited, it was Josh Henson. Maybe Hansen was involved a little bit, but he was the tight ends coach. Now Hansen is the O-line coach. He talked about what he loved about Coach Hansen, his communication and the direction that he gave and the way he run drills. That's who he's going to be playing for, essentially. So I think that's a big change that is different. So I think there's a lot of momentum there. It's going to be tough. Obviously, Oregon's Oregon for a reason. And all jokes aside that are always fun to have between these two kind of rival fan bases, but Oregon is a powerful recruiting school. They obviously, as we all know, they don't really finish the job in the fall, which is a whole other conversation, and what makes the rivalry fun. But in just terms of recruiting, they're one of the best recruiting schools in the country. And so it's going to take a lot to make it happen, but I think it's progressing in the right way. It's still, I think, a ways away. Texas is also pushing hard. He's going to be, I believe, in Austin this month sometime, or maybe he even just was. So Texas, those are big powers that be, USC, Texas, Oregon, fighting. But I think Cody Green, name to watch for, definite potential there. Jonas Smith, a name that probably, and again, this is credit rivals. Adam Gorney wrote this up. I've talked about some of these before, but yeah, just want to give credit and give Adam Gorney his flowers for kind of throwing these out. But Jonas Smith, he's, when you think about stealing a player potentially from Oregon, which USC has already taken two, with Jonas Williams and Tom Tom, if they get a third, Cody Green, wrap it up. But the only thing maybe better than stealing from Oregon, maybe you guys disagree, but is stealing from UCLA, crosstown, because that means you're getting a hometown kid that wanted to go to UCLA and now is flipping sides, dividing the house. So Jonas Smith, wide receiver out of Rancho Santa Margarita. So the same school that Trent Mosley, so his receiver counterpart, committed to SC, and Samote Katanga, the top edge player in California, committed to SC. So two SC commits in his high school program. And he, obviously is a big potential acquisition. USC's kind of come on strong late. And so he's been committed to UCLA since last March. So he's been committed a year. He unfortunately got injured last year. Per Adam Gorney, though, Coach Deshaun Foster and all of his coaching staff have stayed in touch and been there very supportive. So I think it may be tough to flip him. But again, with what USC is doing, with what they can offer NIL versus UCLA, we know is probably pretty astronomically different. So to me, it kind of comes down to this. If they want him, they can flip him. And I don't want to sound disrespectful to UCLA. We do cover UCLA and obviously it's a great rivalry, but I just think based on where the programs are at, based on where the NIL programs are at, USC can offer a lot more, especially even for a receiver. Now UCLA, though, I think Deshaun Foster is doing some nice things down there in Westrid, and I think a lot of players love playing for him. So it's not going to be easy. I just think if USC says this is the receiver we want, I think they can get it done. But to me, the receiver they probably really want is Georgia commit Vance Spafford out of Mission Viejo. Once Chris Henry Jr., the Mater Dei product, who's more of an Ohio kid, he just moved out here to go to Mater Dei, shut down his recruitment, saying he's all in with Ohio State. To me, Spafford is who USC is now turned to go all in on. They were pushing hard for Chris Henry Jr. Spafford now, who most rankings have as the number 2 receiver in the entire country, been committed to Georgia, but has been on SC's campus often as of late. Was just there over the weekend. And so I would not be shocked at all if Riley, Coach Simmons, Coach Savage are going all in to flip Spafford over. And that would just be, you pair Spafford with Mosley and obviously the other receivers on this roster. That's a really, really solid get. And 2 SoCal kids, obviously. And obviously they got Cohen Brown out of Texas just a few days ago as well. He's like a true just burner. So nice compliments to each other as well. So to me, Vance Spafford is the more name to watch as they're going to go all in. Now, obviously, flipping from Georgia is tough. He was really fired up about playing in the SEC, playing for that program. I'm sure he still is. Georgia's not just going to go quietly and let him go. But SC, I think, is definitely, I don't want to stay in the driver's seat, but they are maybe starting to steer the car from the passenger seat, if that makes sense, for those of you married folks out there. Finally, I don't talk too much about 2027 recruits. That's just so far away. But Khalil Terry, safety out of Tustin, committed to Michigan State. This, I think, will be another player, and Adam Gorney references as well, that it's going to kind of come down to, yes, I think he's still committed to Michigan State. Good chance they keep him. But I think it's going to come down to UCLA and USC. Not just because they're the local schools, but his position coach at Michigan State, Demetrius Martin, who recruited him, is now at UCLA. So that's a big deal. The guy that recruits you is at a different school. It's very likely a lot of times guys follow that particular guy. So Demetrius Martin is a huge factor in this. Deshaun Foster, head coach at UCLA, is a Tustin alumni, where Terry goes to school. Tustin High School in California. So I think that's going to have a little bit of influence. Now, on the USC side, obviously, Doug Belk is one of the best defensive back recruiters in the country. One of the top recruiters just in the country. You obviously have the great Danton Lynn here. Well, Lincoln Riley, Chad Bowen. I mean, the recruiting personnel speaks for itself at this point. So I think Doug Belk can absolutely, regardless of the connections UCLA has, I think he's proven himself in terms of what he can do, in terms of his defensive backfield, what they've been able to do in the NFL draft. When you see guys like Kalen Bullock go in the 3rd round, have some Rookie of the Year considerations with the Houston Texans the season he had. I think Jalen Smith is going to surprise a lot of people this year. We saw how much he improved since Doug Belk and Danton Lynn got to SC just last year. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. And, maybe I'll just hit up my good buddy Frosty Rucker, Trojan legend, who also is a Tustin alumni and very involved in the Tustin community. Always runs his camp out of there. So maybe old Frost can talk to Terry about why USC would be the right choice for him. But that's a long way. That's 27. So there you have it. Those 4 guys kind of on flip watch. There's many others out there. I just don't have time for all of them. We'll get to more as the weeks roll on. But Deshaun Redeaux is officially a Trojan. 20 commitments in this number 1 recruiting class for Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans. Let me know what you guys think, your hype level, your worry level, your excitement. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and giving us your eyeballs, your ears, your questions. I'm trying to get to more of those. I need to start answering more like on the next show when you ask them in the comments. I do appreciate those, and I try to read all of them and respond to all of them. Thank you all who have started tuning into our call-in show. every Wednesday night with Tim and Jamal. I was actually on the last one. Jamal was out of town, so I got to fill in. It was a lot of fun. We're going to keep building that up every Wednesday night. So, make it a point. Right now, let me know. I really want to know your guys' thoughts on this, because it's a call-in show is meant to be your show, where you guys call in, you run the questions, engage, interact, have fun. Right now, we're doing it at 6 p.m. Pacific time. We're contemplating moving it to 7. Now, we originally said 6 because we know not all of our listeners and viewers are here on the West Coast. And so for those East Coasters, Mountain Westers, Central time zones, we didn't want it to be too late. But, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but the majority of our USC listeners are on the West Coast and in LA. And I know, living here, 6 o'clock is a tall order to be home by. If you work a regular kind of 9-to-5 job, you're not going to be home by 6. Or if you are, you got obligations right when you get home. Last thing you want to do is sit in front of a computer and watch us on YouTube, although we do appreciate it. So just comment. I'm just curious. We'll ultimately make a decision. I don't know if Tim's decided to change it yet this week, and maybe we'll just test it at 7 for a few weeks and see how that goes and then go back to 6. We obviously want it to be consistently every single week. So just let me know. You guys prefer 6, prefer 7, prefer 6:30. We want this to be your show. So hopefully most of you that watch here watch there as well. Obviously, it's all under the same umbrella, LAFB, and the same channel, USC LAFB. So if you have not already, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out. We certainly appreciate it. And all of our USC content, as always, is on LAFBnetwork.com. Thank you, as always. Another big weekend for USC. A lot of visitors, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that I will talk about next week. I think I'll jump back on the horn on Monday. I'll jump back, because I'll be out of town most of the week, so I'm going to get something up Monday. So on Monday, I'll talk about all these visits and if we hear any intel about some momentum shifting with some of these guys that are on campus, because there's some big ones, again, on campus right now. So for USC LAFB, I'm Ryan Dowd. As always, guys, fight on.